Smoked pork belly is a cook that's been done by almost every barbecue YouTuber. Dane and his team at Dane's Craft Barbecue kind of popularized it, I think, by naming it bacon brisket, although it's not actually bacon. Some people call it pork belly brisket because you take a pork belly and cook it like a brisket. You could call it smoked pork belly, which effectively is what we're doing today. You could call it whatever you want. Whatever you want to call it, it is probably one of my favorite cuts of barbecue. So what I've got here today is a boneless, skinless slab of pork belly, and I've got the pit fired up today for another video. The camera's out anyway. I had this in the fridge, so I thought I may as well film it. So before we get into that, we're gonna make up a rub. So pretty simple as it always is when I'm making rubs. I'm gonna go in with 2-part coarse ground black pepper, the Kirkland brand, one from Costco, 1 part Diamond Crystal kosher salt, and then 1/2 part granulated garlic. And we've got our rub ready to go. This is a basic SPG. And this is a super easy cook, especially if you buy the boneless, skinless pork belly like I have. Should be pretty easy to find for almost everyone. In terms of prep, there isn't much to do, and the cook time's about 5 to 6 hours. Gonna take that off and add that to my sausage scrap. So this is about a 2 kilogram piece. You could cook it whole like this. I'm actually gonna cut it down the middle, and the reason for that is if I was to cook this whole, whichever way I took slices from, they're gonna be pretty long. I don't really want bacon length slices, so I'm actually gonna cut it this way. I'll explain the reason for that in a second. And that way, when we take our slices at the end, we're gonna have slices about this thick, and it'll be easier to put into tacos or do whatever you want with. So the reason why I'm going to cut it down the middle is because we have a section here which is closer to the rib meat. You can see where the bones actually would have been. It kind of looks like a rack of ribs if you just look at it there. And then you've got a section here which is a slightly different makeup of muscles. This part is a lot fattier, so if I cut it down the middle, we're going to have one side that's going to be super fatty and then one side that is maybe less fatty, maybe has a different texture. By cutting them and splitting them down the middle, we're going to have the best of both worlds in both sections. And that's pretty much all you need to do in terms of the prep. What I like to do is just nip off these corners, just takes away that sharp edge, reduces the likelihood that they're gonna get a little bit too crispy and crunchy. And I'd rather spend just 30 seconds just tidying these corners up, making use of 100% of this little scrap here in my sausage, then taking the risk that these bits will be a little bit too crunchy. And I like to go pretty heavy with this rub. One, because it's pork belly, it can take a lot of salt because there's so much fat in there. And 2, I do like it kind of look like a brisket at the end. I really want to build that bark up. So all that pepper in there is really going to help. Going to use the board, get all the sides, and these are ready to go onto the pit. So we're running this pit about between 200 and 225 for the first hour or so while we've got these pork bellies on. And I'm just going to bunch them up so they're a little bit taller than they are thinner. Ignore that brisket. And we'll cook about 200 to 225 just for the first hour or so. Build up some nice smoke, help that bark to form. And we'll come back and check on them soon. So that pork belly is cooking away. I've decided I'm gonna make some tacos with it. So I'm gonna pull together a few little bits in preparation for that. An onion. For what I'm about to do, I would use white onion, but I couldn't actually get hold of any. White onion being a lot more mild, typically what you see with tacos and Mexican food in general, but a brown onion will do. So I'm gonna go in with some onion and some coriander, or cilantro, as you possibly call it. Just in there. And then to that, I'm gonna add a little squeeze of lime. Oop. And then, got yourself perfect little taco topping. I have this with every single taco that I make. It's delicious. So this can just hang out. We'll check on those pork bellies. Right, so these pork bellies have been on for about 5 hours, pretty much bang on the dot. In terms of tenderness, they are nice and soft. This one's a little bit firmer, but that's fine. I want there to be a little bit more of a bite. I don't want it to be completely mush and fall apart. So I'm pretty happy with the tenderness. 5 hour overall cook time, running at about 250 to 275 for the majority of that. apart from that first hour where I was just trying to get a good amount of smoke on it, and these are ready to go and rest. So these are looking good. Nice render on that fat cap, looking like a little mini brisket. Nice bark on there, and overall a super easy cook. As I say, this is probably one of my favorite cuts of barbecue. It's not the cheapest cut, but it is really easy to get hold of. At least here in the UK, pretty much every single butcher is going to sell something like this. So we're going to let them rest for a little bit. Not as much as you would need to rest a brisket or anything that is mostly muscle. This is mostly fat, so it doesn't need to rest as long. Rest them, slice into them, and maybe make up that taco. Right, so let's cut into this. And we have some beautiful pork belly. Possibly could have rested this a little bit longer just because it's still steaming, but I'm pretty hungry and I want to make these tacos up. See, there's a nice amount of glisten to it. There's quite a bit of fat in this, but it is nicely rendered down, so it's going to eat real well. Let's have a little bite. Oh my God, it is so good. It's so easy. The amount of fat that's in there means that you don't really have to baby it. You don't have to wrap it or anything like that. It's like cooking a brisket with stabilizers on, and it's pork. Yeah, you really don't need too much of that. I've literally just had one slice and I don't really want that taco. It's rich. So we're gonna go down with a store-bought corn tortilla. I'm sorry, it will be fine. With pork belly. Then I'm gonna go on, with some jalapeno yellow bird. I picked this up off Chili Cold, quite a bit of that. Probably too much. A real generous amount of onions and coriander, because I like it. A little squeeze of lime, and then some cotija cheese just to finish. If you can't get hold of this, which you probably can't if you're in the UK, you can just use crumbled feta. And there we've got a beautiful pork belly taco. The pork belly is perfect. It's just salt, pepper, garlic, so perfect for this taco. Obviously you could switch it up, do something a bit more special with it. I probably would have added something like hardcore carnivore Tex-Mex rub if I'd have thought about making these tacos this morning, but I've shown you how I like to do it when I serve pork belly sliced, which is just salt, pepper, garlic. There's smoked pork belly, you cannot go wrong with it. So much fat in it, it's really easy to cook. So if you haven't already cooked pork belly like this, then definitely go give it a go. As I say, you cannot go wrong with it, and it is delicious. Everyone really enjoys it. As long as you like pork, you're probably gonna love it. A super simple cook, so a super simple video, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know down below in the comments. Like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. It really helps me out, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks for another video.